May we start the session now?
Yes, ma'am.
Abhay,
Yes, ma'am.
and can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. You are audible, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
First of all, wish you all very happy Navaratra.
Thank
On
you.
behalf of Advaita Sahodaya School Complex, I invite all the participants and our well-known and trainer, Ms. Mitali Mukherjee, Principal, Indrapuram School, Public School Girls. She's a very fantastic trainer, and we know, and very nice, very good teacher, and we are blessed with Ma Durga, that her presence itself is giving a knowledge, and during this time, it's very warm welcome, ma'am, to the program.
Thank you so much.
And
Thank you
the
so
topic
much.
today is violence in the school by students. Yes, really a very good topic, because though percentage is very less, every school is facing the problem by the students. So today she will give us vast knowledge how to tackle the situation. Welcome over to Mitali, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Okay, friends, let me first try and share my screen, and then I'll dive into the topic. Okay. Actually, on the screen, I think you can see it's written Theme 10, Safety and Security Against Violence and Injuries. I'll tell you what actually it means. You know, it has just been, I think, 15-20 days back. I was selected by CBSE COE Patna to take the training, master's training for a topic which is known as health and wellness of school-going students. Actually, the reason was that almost, you know, in this country, by the year 2030, we are expecting 262 million adolescents. And if you look at the graph more carefully, it is estimated that by the year 250, there will be around 297 million adolescents in this country. So it was a very wise initiative by NCRT, CBSE in collaboration, that they thought that this is a large number of the population. It's a large chunk of the population. So what they thought is that now we must think something about their mental health and wellness. So you know what they did? They have come up with a very rigorous, very comprehensive, and a wonderful research program for the mental health and wellness of students. So there are total 11 modules, and we took this training for 5 days, 5 complete days. So you can say around 5 into 6 hours. That much total number of hours were this many. So out of these 11 modules, today I'm going to discuss theme 10, that is a 10th module's part, not the complete thing. So actually the 10th module says safety and security against violence and injuries. But I will, try to refrain myself up to violence only. So you should understand this, that this is not a complete module. When we do all the 10 topics, there's not necessarily you have to do it in a sequence. I chose the 10th topic first because it's easiest to understand, I feel. So if you choose these 10 topics, 11 topics, if you have a comprehensive training on that, I think it will be in totality, you will be able to understand about the mental health and wellness of students. But then, CBSE and COEs in collaboration are coming up with a comprehensive training program for all the teachers and principals regarding this. But then before that, I consider myself to be very, very fortunate that I'll be able to discuss this topic with teachers like you through this platform. So thank you, Aryavat Sahodaya, for giving me this wonderful opportunity. Let's today together try to understand and discuss that what is violence and why this is so important for school teachers to understand, and of course for the students as well. So let's move forward. Now, the major objective of this session of today's is that we have to understand that what is violence, where violence takes place, and how it can be reduced. And of course, the major emphasis is how such cases of violence should be dealt by the teachers. That is very important. Because, आप ये नहीं बोल सकते हो ना कि दो बर्तन है तो आवाज नहीं होगी. आप ये नहीं कह सकते the students are there in the campus but there'll be no noise. Students are there in the campus but they will not fight with each other. Students are in the campus but somebody will not step on somebody else's feet. This is going to happen. No matter how strict you are, what a great disciplinarian you are, that doesn't matter. These little things will happen in the school. Somebody will break the line, somebody will go out of the way, somebody will run away somewhere, somebody will misbehave, somebody will not be in proper discipline, somebody will not be in proper uniform. So many things will happen because you are dealing with children. And when I say children, I very strictly mean the students up to class 12. Because, many workshops that I've taken, many training sessions that I've taken, teachers generally have a complaint that senior students are more violent. Senior students don't listen to the teachers. Senior students take the lead in breaking rules. You know what is the grassroots reason for this? I believe the grassroots reason is that we don't consider them as children. The moment the child passes out from class 5 and goes to class 4, we start considering them as senior students. अगर नर्सरी में आपका कोई स्टूडेंट है सपोज एंड दैट चाइल्ड मेक्स अ स्मॉल मिस्टेक और इवन इफ द चाइल्ड मेक्स अ बिग मिस्टेक व्हाट हैपेंस इज वी से छोटा है बच्चा है कोई बात नहीं मैम हो जाएगा ठीक हो जाएगा बट इफ द सेम मिस्टेक द चाइल्ड रिपीट्स इन क्लास 7 वी विल इमीडिएटली be very strict with the child. We'll call the parents, we'll give TC, we'll rusticate, we'll suspend, or maybe we can take even worse steps. The thought process that generally works is, ये तो बड़ा बच्चा है. That child should not do this. But if you believe in my philosophy, what I feel, what I always tell my teachers is, every child in your school is a child. It is a child, and there's no other name for that. आप एक छोटा सा एग्जाम्पल आपको देती हूँ. आप सोचो, गॉड फॉरबिड, नवरात्रि का समय है. I'll never think of this, but you just imagine. This is just a hypothetical situation that I'm giving you. You imagine. Suppose you have very high fever for one day, one full day, only one day. You have very high fever, you cannot open your eyes, you are on the bed. I think this is very much around also. So suppose you have this. So you are on the bed, you cannot get up. Now you want a glass of water. What do you have to do? You have to ask somebody to give you water. You want to go to the toilet. You will need somebody's help. That maybe I'll fall in the toilet, so please hold me. You want to eat something. You cannot go to the kitchen and cook because you don't have that energy. You're not well. You will depend on somebody for your food. अभी आप खाते हैं गर्मा गर्म रोटियां, आपकी मेड रोटी बनाकर घर चली गई, तो आपको 2 घंटे बाद ठंडी रोटियां खानी है. आप सिर्फ इमेजिन करो मैं जो कह रही हूं. उस पूरे दिन के गुजरने के बाद अगर मैं आपसे पूछूं कि राइट अ डायरी ऑफ अबाउट टुडे, डायरी एंट्री ऑफ टुडे, I'm sure each one of you sitting there would say it was a horrible day, it was a pathetic day, it was an awful day. You know what's the reason? The biggest reason is not because you're unwell. The biggest reason is that you were dependent. अगर मान लीजिए हमारे कान में थोड़ा दर्द हो रहा है, हमारे दांत में थोड़ा सा दर्द हो रहा है, but we can manage our own thing. We are not that unhappy. दर्द हो रहा है, but we are not that unhappy. But the moment you become dependent on somebody, it gives you so much of unhappiness, so much of insecurity. अब आप एक बच्चे के बारे में सोचिए जो 12 साल का है, 13 साल का है, 17 साल का है, 18 साल का है, 19 साल का है. आप इमेजिन करो अगर उसे एक कप चाय भी पीने की इच्छा होती है तो वो डिपेंडेंट है. कोई बनाकर देगा तो पिएगा, पेरेंट्स अलाउ करेंगे तो पिएंगे, बाहर है हॉस्टल में तो पेरेंट्स पैसा देंगे तो पिएंगे. लेकिन आप स्कूल में है तो आप नहीं पी सकते, आपको घर जाने तक का वेट करना होगा. अगर उसे टॉफी खाने की भी इच्छा हो रही है तो वो स्कूल टाइम में विदाउट द प्रॉपर टाइम ही और शी कैन नॉट हैव अ चॉकलेट आल्सो. तो आप कभी एम्पैथेटिकली उसके पोजीशन पर रहकर सोचिए कि दो 6 hours the child is in the school or even the rest of the day the child is with the parents. The child cannot do anything on his own. For every little thing, for every little decision, for every little funding, for every little resource, the child is dependent on somebody. तो ऐसी स्थिति में उसका मेंटल हेल्थ उस पे क्या असर होगा, उसके हेल्थ, उसके वेलनेस पे क्या असर हो रहा है? Until and unless he enjoys a very cordial relationship with people around, until and unless his home atmosphere is very congenial, until and unless in school he is very happy to have a happy teacher, happy class. But is always the situation like that? क्या ये हाइपोथेटिकल सिचुएशन हमेशा रहती है? नहीं रहती है. तो ऐसी स्थिति में the child is facing a lot of mental issues. A lot of challenges are there in front of the child. Are you understanding? So discussing this topic is very, very important. Now let's move further and see what this topic has to say. Now, in violence, these are the you can say subsets. एक बड़ा सा set है violence, इसके subsets ऐसे हैं. Or you can say the subtopics are what is violence? Locating violence. Yani, I'm just talking in reference to school right now. Although it's a vast topic, violence can happen on the road, it can happen at home also. So restricting yourself to school also, agar hum soche, to where in your school? Maybe as a principal, I'm sitting in a room and I'm thinking, yeah, my school is very safe. सवाल ही नहीं उठता कि यहाँ कहीं violence होगा. But then today we are trying to dig up and understand what are the probable locations of violence. Next, violence within the school and its effects. Seeking help to keep safe. Now I'm a child, suppose. I'm facing violence. How will I ask for help? Which is very, very important. Violence, injury, and seeking help. Understanding risky behaviors and taking responsible steps. जैसे हम कहते हैं ना कि हम पहले से ही भाप लेते हैं कि हाँ कुछ गलत है, कुछ ऐसा है, कुछ fishy है, so I better not get into it. So we have to train the child also to understand that what are the probable risky behaviors. And next is collective response to violence. It is not only the principal's responsibility, or not only that one maths teacher or one social science teacher or one class teacher's responsibility. It is a collective responsibility of the entire school community, all stakeholders, to make the child feel safe and understand कि भैया this is a no violence zone. जैसे मैंने अपने स्कूल के गेट के बाहर लिख कर लगा हुआ है no plastic zone. आप लोगों ने बहुत लोगों ने लिखा होगा green school, no this ban, that ban. तो ये समय आ गया है अब. It's the need of the hour that we write outside our school gates no violence zone. Don't you think so, friends? Isn't it the need? Now let's come to the next side of the coin. How will we teach this? Do you need a subject? Is this a subject? Do you need a period? Should your principal allot a period to teach you about all this mental health, wellness, violence, etc.? No. The method of dealing with this is, suppose I'm teaching polynomials in my class, suppose I'm teaching periodic motion in my class, suppose I'm teaching Shakespeare in my class, whatever. What you need to do is, in every period, you have to incorporate this. Now, as we all know, what is the time concentration span of today's child? It is 6, 7, 8 minutes maximum. आपकी पीरियड मिनिमम 35 मिनट की तो होती होगी. तो अगर आप 35 मिनट पढ़ाते हैं, 35 मिनट लेक्चर देते हैं, तो समझ लीजिए रिजल्ट इज अ बिग जीरो. क्योंकि 35 मिनट तक बच्चे का कंसंट्रेशन स्पैन है ही नहीं. So of course, you know, all of your B.Ed teachers, I'm sure you know this, that we follow the plan that when a teacher goes into the class, the teacher first does recapitulation. Then the teacher does I do, whatever the teacher wants to do. Then the teacher does you do, what the students se lena hai, assessment part. Then there is something we do, which is activity part. So generally, we divide the classroom into fragments like this. Now, teachers, whenever you are teaching in the class and you feel कि यार 6-7 मिनट हो गए, लगता है बच्चे अब थोड़ा थोड़ा इधर उधर ऐसे ऐसे हिलना शुरू कर दिया, बच्चा थोड़ा उसको खुजली हो रही है, थोड़ा पेट में दर्द हो रहा है, थोड़ा पानी पीना है, इसका मतलब उसका कंसंट्रेशन जो है वो ब्रेक हो रहा है. This is a point of time when the teacher should introduce a small story, a small case study, a small discussion, a small video of 2 minutes, a small role play, and put in this put into the content. Of course, this entire module has endless number of role plays and case studies which will be given to you also. Now I'm restricting myself to violence, this only one module. There are so many case studies, so many discussions, so many quizzes, so many role plays given. अभी आप इसमें से कुछ भी पिकअप कर लो, ये आपकी लेसन प्लानिंग में आपकी तैयारी होनी चाहिए कि आज मैं इसको डील करूं. जैसे मान लीजिए फॉर एग्जांपल यू आर टीचिंग एडिशन सब्ट्रैक्शन डिवीजन. व्हेन यू आर टीचिंग एडिशन सब्ट्रैक्शन डिवीजन तो आप कह सकते हैं कि ठीक है, बीच में कुछ पढ़ाने के बीच में आपने एक छोटा सा केस स्टडी बोर्ड पे दिखा दिया. अब बच्चे ही डिस्कस करेंगे, जस्ट 2 minutes ऑफ योर क्लास, एंड दे विल अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट यू वांट टू मेक देम अंडरस्टैंड. अगर कोई टीचर बोर्ड पे खड़ा होकर कहे देखो बेटा, school mein there should be no violence, nobody should hit each other, nobody should beat each other, do you think children will remember? And even if they remember, they will not give a damn to it. But if you want things to go within the students, if you want बच्चे को वो समझे कि क्या मेरा टीचर मुझे बताना चाह रहा है, क्या इसके consequences हो सकते हैं, क्या इसका ifs and buts है, then you know only role plays and case studies and storytelling and quizzes and discussion and panel discussions can help. If you give a lecture to the child, you cannot teach these things. So basically, if we go back to the 21st century skills, I've taken many sessions of that also with you, and somebody else also must have taken. So आप ये समझिए कि when you're teaching these kind of topics, the child learns empathy. The child learns critical thinking. आपने case study दिया, आप कह रहे क्या करना चाहिए इस समय, रोहित को बताओ. तो now the child starts thinking. सो आपके एक ही साथ में हेल्थ एंड वेलनेस के साथ आपकी 21st सेंचुरी स्किल्स डेवलप हो रही है, आपकी लाइफ स्किल्स डेवलप हो रही है, प्लस आप हेल्थ एंड वेलनेस का क्लास भी ले रहे हो उसी मैथ्स के पॉलिनोमियल के क्लास में. वी जस्ट नीड योर 2 minutes. So every teacher who is sitting there today and listening to this, please remember that these 2 minutes we need from every teacher in every period, no matter which module and which case study and which story you're doing. But this has to go through you to each and every student of your class. So, you know, I've just written a few methods which I think is appropriate. You can change it also. I've written like what is violence पढ़ाना, तब comic strip discussion quiz के through पढ़ा सकते हैं. Locating violence, mapping, कौन कौन से areas हैं आपके स्कूल में, आप मैप बनाओ और फिर देखो बच्चे को सेंस करो कहाँ वो चुप हो जा रहे हैं, कहाँ वो बोल रहे हैं, कहाँ वो क्या आपको समझाना चाहते हैं. And then as a teacher you can work on those areas. For example, you can use discussion, case study, etc., whatever you want. Next is, let us first understand what is violence. तो यहाँ मैं आपको ये समझाना चाहती हूँ कि violence is this. Let's try to read this comic strip. I went to the next one. Let's read this comic strip. See, this is a teacher who is saying, one day Usha takes her maths notebook to the teacher. Usha is a student. Now look at the teacher's remark. On seeing the mistakes, her teacher remarks. Very common this is, very common statement. But just see, this is also violence. The teacher remarks, why do you take the trouble of coming to school? After all, what are you going to gain by studying? You can't cope with this. Isn't it very common, especially in mathematics? Very common, isn't it? We do talk like this. Actually, हमारा मोटो नहीं होता कि हम बच्चे को हर्ट करें. हमारा मोटो नहीं होता कि हम बच्चे को तकलीफ दें. But very commonly we talk like this. यार तुम एकदम बुद्धू हो, तुमको समझ ही में नहीं आता, गधे हो तुम. What? क्या खाते हो? क्या दिमाग में भरा हुआ है? This is also a form of violence. Let's come to there are many comic strips. Next. So we need to understand here, violence कैसे टाइप के होते हैं. पहला, इमोशनल वायलेंस. आपने इमोशनल अत्याचार किया मेरे साथ, मैं रोने लगी, मैं सदमे में आ गई, मैं शॉक में आ गई, मैं बेड रिडन हो गई. That is emotional अत्याचार. For example, calling somebody, ए कालू इधर आजा, ए भालू इधर आजा, अरे तू तो बिल्कुल गधा है, किसी के सामने हमने कह दिया. आप बच्चे को किसी के सामने अगर ये भी कह देते ना, तुम्हारे पेट निकल गई है, तुम ऐसा कैसा, तुमने इतने मोटे हो गए हो, तुम बड़े भद्दे लग रहे हो. Very common things. So this is also violence kind is emotional. Next is sexual harassment. We all have the POCSO and all for this, but let them not become registers in your school. Let them be functional in your school. I hope you understand what is sexual violence, and it's not only having sex. It means looking at the child also in the wrong way. It also means passing some unwanted comments. It also means trying to attract the child's attention in some wrong way. That is also a form of sexual harassment. Please make a note of this. Next, physical violence. Physical violence यानी फिजिकल वायलेंस आप बहुत अच्छा समझते हैं. कॉर्पोरल पनिशमेंट, मार कुटाई कर देना, कान पकड़ना, बाल खींचना, ये है फिजिकल वायलेंस. Corporal punishment, you understand. Please remember, Right to Education Act 2009 prohibits any form of corporal punishment या mental harassment. Next is bullying. Bullying आप लोग सब जानते हो, but please understand that violence is a very big umbrella. उसका एक part है bullying. Bullying means regular basis पे, consistently, repeatedly आप किसी को परेशान कर रहे हो, आप अपना पावर दिखा रहे हो उस पे. The principal can also do this with the teachers. The teachers can do with each other. The students can do with each other. The teacher can do with the teacher. It's not only between students. Okay, so this is also a form of violence. So bullying is a form of violence. Now, violence करते हैं लोग, करेंगे, लेकिन कौन से ऐसे बच्चे होते हैं who are more prone to violence? मिताली मुखर्जी के साथ कोई वायलेंस करके तो दिखाए. कोई हिम्मत ही नहीं कर सकता. Why? Because Mitali Mukherjee is grown up, she has experience, she knows so many things, she has seen the world and she is a principal. Because I'm the principal, maybe बहुत तो चाह कर भी मुझे पीट नहीं सकते, मार नहीं सकते. But this is not true with the child, no friends. वो तो एक बच्चा है, और अगर वो उसके अंदर कुछ चीजें हैं तो वो ज्यादा प्रोन टू वायलेंस हो जाता है. जैसे हम नहीं कहते कि कोविड के बाद हमारी इम्यूनिटी कमजोर हो गई है, वी आर मोर प्रोन टू डिजीजेस. सिमिलरली कुछ ऐसे बच्चे हैं आपके स्कूल में जो वायलेंस प्रोन है, जिन पे वायलेंस करना बहुत आसान है. हम घर पे किस पे गुस्सा होता है आप बताओ. अगर आपके स्कूल का डायरेक्टर या आपके स्कूल के चेयरमैन या आपके स्कूल के प्रिंसिपल आपको डांटे भी तो आप जवाब नहीं देते, आप चुप रहते हो. क्यों? क्योंकि आपको पता है यहाँ वायलेंस नहीं दिखा सकते भैया, यहाँ वायलेंस दिखाया तो रिवर्स यू टर्न हो जाएगा. लेकिन आप अपने घर पे जाते हैं, आपके छोटा सा कोई बच्चा है, आप उस एक छोटी सी गलती पे उसको एक थप्पड़ लगा देते हैं. क्यों? बिकॉज यू नो रिवर्स नहीं आएगा. So human beings are also very clever. Same are children. They know कि कहाँ मुझे वायलेंस करना चाहिए और कहाँ मुझे वायलेंस नहीं करना चाहिए. तो let me tell you now that who are the children who are more prone to violence. किन पे वायलेंस ज्यादा होता है स्कूल में? नंबर 1 वो बच्चे जिनका सेल्फ एस्टीम बहुत कम है. अब मैं दिन भर अगर ये सोचती रहूं कि मैं अच्छी नहीं हूं, मैं बहुत बुरी हूं, मेरे बाल अच्छे नहीं है, मेरा नाक अच्छा नहीं, मेरा कान अच्छा नहीं, और मेरा सेल्फ एस्टीम लो 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 हो, तो you know I can be subject to violence more. Next, this is not for the students, for others. Marital discord, households, financial instability, illness, etc. Children who are overly fearful of adults. कुछ बच्चों के माँ बाप ऐसे होते हैं, आप पीटीएम करते हैं तो वो कहते हैं ना, वहीं पे मेरे साथ एक बार ऐसा हुआ कि the PTM was going on and the teacher told something about the child which was not positive, and the father started beating the child there itself in front of the entire class, teachers, friends, other parents. So आप सोचो, अगर आप इतने overpowering parents के बच्चे हैं तो they are more prone to violence. Normally we'll see if the father or the mother is speaking too much, बहुत ज्यादा बोलते हैं, बहुत loud बोलते हैं, तो उनके बच्चे बड़े शांत शांत से होते हैं, उन्हें मौका ही नहीं मिलता बोलने का. Next, children without parental care, orphans, unaccompanied people, separated children, street children, laborers, etc. Mentally and physically disabled. Very, very true. All children are vulnerable as they are dependent on adults for their care and protection. ये मैंने पहले ही आपको बताया कि ये तो ज्यादा में भी वायलेंस का शिकार होंगे, लेकिन एक चीज we should always remember, every child is prone to violence. Why? Because the child is dependent. जैसे मैंने आपको एग्जाम्पल दिया फीवर वाला, आप एक दिन फीवर से बिस्तर पे रहते हैं, आप इतने फ्रस्ट्रेटेड, गुस्सा आ जाता है ना, इससे अच्छा तो था मैं मर ही जाता. जस्ट, लेकिन वो बच्चा जो अपने जीवन का करीब 19-20 साल डिपेंडेंट ऑन पे अदर्स रहता है, डिपेंडेंट ऑन टीचर, डिपेंडेंट ऑन पेरेंट्स, डिपेंडेंट ऑन ट्यूशन मास्टर, डिपेंडेंट ऑन फूड, ऑन द कुक, डिपेंडेंट ऑन द सर्वेंट, डिपेंडेंट ऑन n number of things in the world. वो अगर फ्रस्ट्रेटेड है, वो अगर वायलेंस का शिकार होता है, तो इट्स वेरी मच कॉमन. दैट इज व्हाई इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू अंडरस्टैंड एंड स्टॉप वायलेंस अगेंस्ट स्टूडेंट्स. हाउ डज अब्यूज या वायलेंस इम्पैक्ट द चाइल्ड? इमीडिएट इम्पैक्ट्स नहीं है. वो शॉक में आएगा, वो दुखी होगा, वो डर जाएगा, कंफ्यूजन, देयर विल बी गिल्ट, देयर विल बी एंगर, देयर विल बी शेम. ये इमेजिन हमारे स्कूल का वो केस जब पीटीएम में पापा ने बच्चे को एक थप्पड़ लगा दिया इन फ्रंट ऑफ द फ्रेंड्स, इन फ्रंट ऑफ अदर पेरेंट्स, इन फ्रंट ऑफ टीचर्स, पब्लिकली. यू इमेजिन व्हाट मस्ट हैव हैपेंड टू द चाइल्ड. वो क्या सोच रहा होगा, उसकी मेंटल स्थिति, उसकी एंजाइटी लेवल आप सोचिए. सो दीज आर द इंपैक्ट्स ऑफ वायलेंस. What are the effects of violence on students? Of course, they will have problem in concentration. पढ़ ही नहीं पाएंगे. जितनी बार किताब खोलेंगे उतनी बार क्या होगा? थप्पड़. पापा ने जो थप्पड़ लगाया था वो सामने आ जाएगा. The concentration will be disturbed, which can lead to mental health issues, and of course physical health issues are also there. Next, visible detectors of abuse. Now we come to the teachers part. You are teachers. You are the next parent of the student who spends 6 hours in your school. So how will you understand कि ये बच्चा जो है possibly violence या abuse का शिकार हुआ है? How will you understand? Some of the symptoms are behavioral symptoms. The child will be socially withdrawal. चुप रहेगा, सहमा सहमा सा रहेगा. Maybe वो बहुत गुस्सा भी होने लगेगा तुरंत, aggressive, hostile हो जाएगा. Over pleasing behavior. हाँ पापा, हाँ मम्मी, यस मैम, आई विल डू इट मैम. क्योंकि वो इतना डरा हुआ है अंदर से कि अगर मैंने नो बोला तो हुई मेरी शामत आ जाएगी. ओके, डजंट सीम टू बी अटैच्ड. ओके, drastic change in achievement. The child was scoring very high has come down. Use of abusive sexual language. अगर कोई बच्चा आपके क्लास में गंदी गंदी गालियां देना शुरू किया, मतलब there's something which has happened to the child. Substance abuse. Do you understand what is substance abuse? Substance abuse means, unfortunately, it means taking of drugs. Okay, any kind of drugs that the child is using. Then we come to the psychological part. What is the meaning of psychological part? Eating and sleeping disorders, anxiety, depression, and which I don't never want to utter is suicide. Ultimate is suicide. And after that, my dear teachers, you cannot help the child also. So before that stage comes, please rise up and start helping your students. Next, if there's sexual abuse, it can lead to pregnancy, it can lead to sexually transmitted infections and sexualized behavior or early sexual activity. एक बार अगर किसी बच्चे के साथ ऐसा कुछ गलत होता तो the child knows. Now it's an open book. Now maybe you will see excessive of that behavior or less of that behavior. Anyone is possible. Physical, psychosomatic illness. डरेगा बच्चा, रात में सोए सोए उठ जाएगा, मम्मी मुझे नहीं जाना स्कूल, मुझे सर ने मारा, मुझे मैम ने मारा. Maybe pain or swelling, repeated urinary infections, effects of poisoning such as vomiting, drowsiness, seizures, if the child has attempted a suicide. Then respiratory problems, अगर वो किसी ने डुबाने की कोशिश की है तो bite marks, bruises, burns, poor appearance and hygiene, health and developmental issues are all interrelated. Once the child is prone to violence, maybe वो अपने आप पे ध्यान नहीं देगा, वो अपना ख्याल नहीं रखेगा, उसके मन में तरह तरह की बातें कि यार इससे तो अच्छा मैं चला जाऊं, स्कूल छोड़ दूं, पढ़ाई छोड़ दूं, मर जाऊं, भाग जाऊं, things like this. Okay. Next, where can violence occur? Where can violence occur? Number one, in the school, on the way to school or on the way to home, at home, in the community, और अब ये नई चीज आ गई. This is the gift of technology, cyberspace. You post a picture in desire of thumbs up and likes, and what comes? One bad, I hope you understand what I mean by bad. One bad comment, and your entire image in social media is ruined. One step wrong. So this is a new kind of challenge that the teachers that the parents, that the community, and above all, the students are facing these days. It was not there in our times. हमारे समय पे साइबर ये सब नहीं होता था. वायलेंस एंड बुलिंग अब ये भी हो रहा है, इसका भी ध्यान रखना है आपको. आपको बच्चे को बताना है कि आप कैसे साइबर स्पेस को यूज करते हो. इन दिस out of these 11 modules, one module is that how to use a cyberspace. Maybe some other day we could do this also with you. So you should understand that you as a teacher, you should never think कि my school is 100% safe, इसमें कोई गड़बड़ हो ही नहीं सकता. अरे बच्चे को घर में क्या प्रॉब्लम है, बच्चे को रास्ते में क्या प्रॉब्लम है, आप टीचर्स स्कॉट लगाते होंगे रोड तक, उसके बाद भी तो रोड है, कम्युनिटी है. So these are the violence prone areas. Next, where inside the school violence can occur? अब ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. Let us restrict ourselves to school. So where inside the school violence can occur? Dark, isolated rooms. Maybe there's some corridor, there's some bathroom area, washroom area. Maybe there's a washroom attached to the field. Then maybe some corridors, some backfield area, dark room in the physics lab. I don't know. Inside the classroom, look at the teacher. How much love she's pouring, isn't it, on the students? On the internet, computer labs, and of course, playgrounds, where there's almost negligible, adult supervision. So these areas are more prone to violence. Now, violence within schools and its effects. होता है आपके स्कूल में वायलेंस? तो आंख बंद करके सोचिए. आप सबका स्कूल बहुत अच्छा है, मेरा भी स्कूल बहुत अच्छा है, लेकिन वायलेंस होता है या नहीं? जवाब हाँ है या नहीं? What is the answer? Are our schools fully violent free zones? अगर ऐसा होता तो कोई टीचर किसी को डांटता ही नहीं. When you scold a child also, you are actually putting a lot of stress on the child's mind. So even if you want to scold the child, you have to scold in a different way, that the stress is not there. The work is being done, but the stress is not there. ये कुछ ऐसा ही हुआ जैसे अगर मैं कहूँ कि आप बच्चे को, आपको कोई बीमारी है और आपको इंजेक्शन दिया जाए और बीमारी ठीक हो जाए, बहुत अच्छी बात है. लेकिन इंजेक्शन हम क्यों नहीं लेना चाहते हैं? क्योंकि वो चुभता है. हम जानते हैं इस इंजेक्शन से हमें फायदा होगा, फिर भी हम अवॉइड करते हैं, बीइंग एडल्ट्स, क्योंकि हम ये समझते हैं कि उस इंजेक्शन से मुझे दर्द होगा. सिमिलरली फ्रेंड्स, अगर आप ये कहते हैं कि मैं तो बच्चे को सुधारने के लिए पीटता हूं, मैं तो बच्चे को सुधारने के लिए मारता हूं, डांटता हूं, तो ये गलत है. आप सुधारो, लेकिन दर्द नहीं होना चाहिए. that dard can be physical, that dard can be mental, that dard could be emotional. So you have to avoid that. So where violence is happening, so first we'll see how it is happening and what are the effects. So how it happens, you can call somebody by a name, which of course is not his or her real name. Scaring somebody, teasing somebody, bribing, showing your anger, making them feel ashamed, telling that they are worthless, pushing them, damaging their property, kicking them, excluding them from groups, which is very common. So many children come and say, ma'am, nobody likes me, I'm not there in any group. Bullying and hitting, they are all forms of violence found in school. And what is the effect of that violence? Children feel excluded, they're scared, they're stressed, they're sad, they're left out, they're worried, hurt, angry, they spread rumors, they are feeling harassed, and they are a part of the gossip. People start talking, पता है तुमको वो जो सर है ना, उसने ना रमेश को पीटा था उस दिन बहुत बुरी तरीके से, उसके बाल भी खींच लिए थे. Now you become the talk of the school. So please avoid this. Next. So what do we understand from here? That violence and abuse can have a negative impact on one's mental and physical health and can adversely affect a person's ability to learn, engage, and even isolate the person. Right to education, those are no. Please yaad rakhiye, right to education. Harassment, mental harassment and punishment against a section 17I and punishable offense under section 17(2). So you all are teachers. I always tell this to my teachers. भैया जेल जाओगे तो अकेले जाओगे, मैं साथ में नहीं जाने वाली. तो इसलिए बच्चे को पीटो मत. जो आप प्यार से कर सकते हो वो करो. उसके बियॉन्ड कुछ हेल्प चाहिए तो टेक हेल्प फ्रॉम पेरेंट्स, टेक हेल्प फ्रॉम द प्रिंसिपल, लेकिन मार पिटाई नहीं करनी है. नेक्स्ट, हाउ डू यू सीक हेल्प? अब वायलेंस है, वायलेंस की वजह भी मैंने बताया, वायलेंस के इफेक्ट्स भी मैंने बताया, आपको टाइप ऑफ वायलेंस बताया, वायलेंस नहीं करने के लिए बताया. ना वायलेंस हो गया ड्यू टू एनी रीजन, आपके स्कूल में बच्चे के साथ वायलेंस हो गया. नाउ हाउ विल द चाइल्ड आस्क फॉर हेल्प? क्या आप चाहते हैं बच्चा उसको अपने अंदर दबा कर रखे, कभी उस 8-10 के कॉरिडोर में जाए ही नहीं, कभी उस लड़के के बगल में बैठे ही नहीं जिसने उसके साथ वायलेंस किया, या उस लड़की के बगल में नहीं बैठे? या you want to resolve this? So if you want to resolve this is how you will do it in your classroom, through a case study. During the English class, the teacher caught Nima repeatedly giggling. Giggling means हंसने की कोशिश करना. The teacher slapped Nima and dragged him to the front of the class, pulling his ear. The teacher turned towards the class and shouted, "I will not tolerate any indiscipline in my class." He then caned the boy on his legs before the class and asked him to leave the classroom. Please read it once. I'm giving you 30 seconds to read it, please. Do you think it's a form of violence, my dear friends? Do you think it's a form of violence? Yes. Done by the teacher on the student. So please remember this. Don't do it. And the best part of helping a child from not being a violence victim is, what you can do is you can teach your child to go for this 3-step process. Please understand this very carefully. This is the 3-step approach, which says, no, go, tell. No, go, tell. So if the child thinks that whatever is being offered to me is not good, the child should very, very prominently be able to say, no, I'm not going to do it. Then the child should go to somebody whom he thinks is the secured person. And of course, you understand what I mean to say. The child should go to you. As a teacher, उस बच्चे को आप पे विश्वास होना चाहिए कि अगर मैं इस मैम के पास गया, इस सर के पास गया, तो मुझे मदद मिलेगी, वो मुझे हेल्प करेंगे. इतनी सिक्योरिटी आपको उस बच्चे पे लेनी है. जैसे आपने पिछला केस देखा, look at this case, this नीमा केस. Do you think नीमा या नीमा के क्लास का कोई भी बच्चा कभी भी इस इंग्लिश टीचर के पास जाएगा for any help? The English teacher who has so brutally beaten a child just because the child was wanting to laugh, wanting to smile, wanting to be happy. और फिर हम टीचर्स के हैप्पी क्लासरूम्स की बात करते हैं. ठीक है, क्लास के बीच में हंसना गलत है, लेकिन ये ऐसा कोई गुनाह बच्चे नहीं करते स्कूल में जिसके लिए आप उनको फांसी की सजा देते, जिसके लिए आप उनको इतनी बुरी तरीके से पीटे. आपको वही प्रॉब्लम बहुत अच्छे तरीके से, बहुत प्यार से, बहुत कल्चर्ड वे में, बहुत प्रोडक्टिव वे में भी आप सॉल्व कर सकते हैं. सो आप नीमा के इंग्लिश टीचर का एग्जाम्पल नहीं सेट करें. दिस इज माई सजेशन ऑफ कोर्स. ओके, नाउ द चाइल्ड शुड अंडरस्टैंड कि मैं इस टीचर के पास जाऊंगा तो मुझे हेल्प मिलेगा. दैट फेथ, दैट सिक्योरिटी द चाइल्ड शुड हैव ऑन यू. एंड देन व्हाट शुड द चाइल्ड बी टॉट? टेल. नो, गो, टेल. नाउ गो किसी के पास भी हो सकता है, टीचर्स के पास तो होना ही चाहिए. अगर नहीं है तो कम से कम पेरेंट्स के पास जाए, किसी फ्रेंड के पास जाए. बट द चाइल्ड मस्ट गो एंड टॉक अबाउट इट. द चाइल्ड शुड नॉट जस्ट एब्जॉर्ब इट बिकॉज इट हैज हैपेंड. टीचर ने किया, मैं कुछ नहीं कर सकता. वो बहुत बलवान बच्चे ने किया, मैं कुछ नहीं कर सकता. उसके पापा तो मिनिस्टर है, मैं कुछ नहीं कर सकता. ये नहीं सोचे बच्चा. So please teach your child this 3-way approach, 3-step approach it is, that you should say no, you should go, and you should tell. This is very, very important. Please teach your children this. Next is, look at this case study. It's a very interesting case study. Okay. Ciro took his father's car to his friend's birthday party. He's 17 years old and does not have a driving license. He and his friends did not wear seat belts. They played loud music and felt it was fun. Ciro drove at full speed. The car hit a huge heap of concrete piled up. He and his friends got injured as their heads banged against the car. Now imagine if you're discussing with a 10 class child, 11 class child, 12 class child, the child will easily be able to relate. अरे भैया, ये तो मेरा भी इच्छा होती है, मैं बाइक चलाऊं पापा की, मैं गाड़ी चलाऊं पापा की. बच्चे अपने हिसाब से स्टोरी मैनिपुलेट करने लगते हैं. तो जब आप ये सिखा रहे हैं बच्चे को, तो आप बच्चे को ये नहीं कह रहे हैं हेलमेट पहनो, लाइसेंस के साथ जाओ, लाइसेंस के बिना मत गाड़ी चलाओ. आप ये नहीं सिखा रहे हो. यू आर जस्ट टेलिंग देम अ स्टोरी. नाउ डिस्कस इट विद देम. नाउ यू टेल मी, सीरो ने सही किया या गलत किया बच्चों? व्हाई सीरो वाज रॉन्ग? व्हाट डू यू थिंक कुड हैव हैपेंड? व्हाट डू यू थिंक, हाउ यू थिंक सीरो कुड हैव सेव्ड हिमसेल्फ? तो when you discuss things through a story, through a case study, बच्चे ज्यादा इन्वॉल्व होते हैं, वो खुद से आंसर्स देते हैं, जो आंसर्स आप चाहते हैं वही आंसर्स आएंगे उनसे, लेकिन आपको बोलने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी. एंड यू नो व्हेन यू से समथिंग यू हैव मोर फेथ इन दैट. तो जब बच्चे कहेंगे नहीं मैम सीरो ने गलत किया, सर सीरो को ऐसा नहीं करना चाहिए था, सर सीरो को लाउड म्यूजिक नहीं चलाना चाहिए, सर सीरो को स्पीड कंट्रोल रखना चाहिए, सर सीरो के पास लाइसेंस नहीं है, तो बच्चे उसको फॉलो भी करें. So, you know, this is how you protect the child from falling into the prey of violence. Okay. So, what do we understand till here? That we should remember the 3 steps, no, go, tell approach, and teach this to our students also. Then the next thing we should teach our students also that they have legal rights. There are legal provisions to support them. I don't know how many of you will agree with me, but the children at a certain stage should be knowing. मैं आपको इसका एक example देती हूँ. You know, when we were doing this training, the teacher, my resource person said that children are of a school, they were aware that they had these rights. तो एक छोटी सी बच्ची ने एक दिन चाइल्ड हेल्पलाइन को फोन कर दिया. You know what happened? They received the phone call and she was from there only. And then she said a small child complained that, ma'am, I want to file a case. I want to do an FIR, lodge a complaint against my father. Now they said, अरे यार ये छोटी सी बच्ची अपने फादर के अगेंस्ट कंप्लेन करना चाहती थी. I said, okay, fine. We are coming to your place. They went to their place. They started having a discussion. And do you know what was the reason? You will be amazed to know the reason. What happened is a few days back, the mother, the father, and the child went for a picnic. And they went to a sea beach for the picnic. Now there they were playing and enjoying, and the father clicked a few pics of the child. And the father posted those pics in the status, his own status. Now maybe a friend of his class or his father or his mother was in the friend list. And they saw these pics of the child. And their son also saw the pics of the child. And the next day when the child went to the class, that friend who had seen the pic started making fun of the child. अरे यार उसकी तो फोटो ऐसी थी, उसने तो ऐसे कपड़े पहने थे, उसने तो ये किया था. Child felt very embarrassed. So the child wanted to lodge a complaint against her father. Do you understand how serious it is? कितनी छोटी छोटी बातें बच्चों को कितनी हर्ट करती हैं. क्या हम बोलने के पहले सोचते हैं? क्या हम करने के पहले सोचते हैं? नहीं सोचते. So maybe this story will help you remember from the next time. Now next is collective response to violence. Now collectively as an entire school, principal is working a lot against no violence, but the teachers पूरी class में मार पिटाई किए जा रहे. Will the school ever be a violence free zone? No. Teachers are also very good, principal is also very good, but the bus staff, bus conductors, the maids, the sweepers, they are always using gandi gaaliyan amongst themselves. They're talking like this. बच्चे को अरे कर रहे हैं, तरे कर रहे हैं. Will the school be non-violence? No, it will not be again. So, always remember that it's the collective approach. सारे लोग मिलकर काम करेंगे. All stakeholders together should work together to make the school a no violence zone. So what is the role of the teacher? इस पिक्चर पे आप आराम से देख सकते हैं और आप अपने आप को आइडेंटिफाई भी कर सकते हैं. I'm sure most of you are doing all this. Be a positive role model. Speak out against violence. Be constructive discipline. Constructive discipline का मतलब अगर मुझे शांति चाहिए तो मैं पीट के शांति लाऊं ये जरूरी नहीं है. वो एक कहावत है ना कि हंटर के डर से तो सर्कस में शेर भी करतब दिखाता है, लेकिन आप शेर को जंगल में छोड़ दो तो क्या वो हंटर वाले के हंटर को सुनेगा? वो हंटर वाले को ही खा जाएगा. तो स्कूल में तो मार के डर से, पिटाई के डर से सारे बच्चे डिसिप्लिन में रहते हैं. That's not a big deal. That's not the gain. That's not a teacher's worth. The teacher's worth is proved when the children are self-disciplined, self-motivated. Speak out against violence, discrimination, and marginalized communities. As a colleague or a school staff, what can you do? Advocate a holistic approach to provide safe and welcoming space for students. बच्चों को आपके स्कूल के किसी कोने में डर नहीं लगनी चाहिए, उनको वेलकम्ड फील करना चाहिए. Be an advocate for school safety mechanisms. आपको बताना होगा कहाँ का. मान लीजिए वो आपके क्लास के अंदर कोई नोटिस बोर्ड है, उसका एक कांटी उखड़ा हुआ है. You are not bothered. छोड़ो यार, जो हाउसकीपिंग डिपार्टमेंट देखेगा. No. आप ये सोचो कि आप क्लास से बाहर, you stepped out and that board falls down and the child is hurt. Then what will happen? So your approach should be holistic against violence. Okay, so this is how the school becomes a no violence zone. Are you understanding? So, next, let me close this first. Just a minute. Okay, now you see these are some tips to disclosures. Very important. Make student who something has happened at my home, which is violence. I'm sharing it with the teacher. Or maybe something has happened in the school, which is an example of violence. And that has been done by a teacher, that maybe may has been done by a student. And I'm sharing it with the teacher. So, normally what happens, children disclose, but then what happens? The teachers are not able to ensure that disclosure, keep that disclosure intact within themselves. They disclose it to someone else, which hurts the child when the child comes to know about it. होता दरअसल यही है, इसलिए जैसे जैसे बच्चे बड़े होते हैं, they confide, they don't disclose, because their bitter experience of childhood refrains them from confiding when they grow up. You must have seen when the children are small, they say, "Ma'am, usne pheka ball. Ma'am, usne gali di. Ma'am, usne chori kiya." But as the child grows up, the child doesn't say this. You punish the whole class, but still they will not say who has broken the glass, who has thrown the ball, who has done the mischief. They will not say, because they know that if I disclose, my teacher is going to punish me. My teacher is not going to confide. My teacher is not going to help me. My teacher will not be beside me. My teacher will take me to the principal. My teacher will make me get rusticated. They don't have faith in you. So how to develop that faith so that children can come and disclose things to you? So please be positive. Tell the child, I'm glad you've told me this. Demonstrate that you believe in the child. अरे तुम तो झूठे हो, तुम तो हमेशा झूठ ही कहते हो. Don't say like this. Make the child feel comfortable. हाँ, तुम जो कह रहे हो, I believe in that. Reassure the child that you will help and be very free and frank. If you really feel that नहीं इस बात को हम disclose मतलब hide करके नहीं रख सकते, then you tell the child, beta, this needs to be discussed with the principal. This needs to be discussed with the authorities. This needs to be discussed with your father, with your mother. You must tell the truth to the child and explain the child why you're doing this. Once the child understands, the child will have faith in you. Please remember this. Avoid touching the child and ask permission if at all. Emphasize that it is not the fault of the child, because you have to help the child not commit suicide also. Emotional breaks can be there. So please make the child become normal. Make the child feel कि वो worthless नहीं है, वो useless नहीं है. अगर उसने कोई गलती की भी है, अगर उसके साथ कोई violence हुआ भी है, तो वो उसके लिए responsible नहीं है. जैसे आप सुनते हैं ना, नेता लोग कैसे violence देते हैं. अगर किसी लड़की के साथ कुछ हुआ तो वो कहते हैं छोटे कपड़े क्यों पहनते हैं. No, this should not be done. आपको ये कहना है कि नहीं, you are not at fault for the violence that has happened with you. Let us rectify that. And most important is keep calm, believe in the child. That is most important, which we normally don't do even as parents. Sometimes I don't believe my child, I believe someone else more than my child. And what you should not do, don't panic, don't overreact, don't blame the child. जैसे अगर मेरे बच्चे ने कुछ गलत किया, कुछ किसी का शीशा तोड़ दिया, तो what do we do normally? तुम तो हो ही ऐसे, तुम तो बहुत बदमाश हो, तुम कभी मेरी बात नहीं सुनते हो, तुम्हारे साथ रोज कंप्लेन आता है. उस समय आपको याद करना है कृष्ण भगवान को. उनके अगेंस्ट भी रोज कंप्लेन्स आते थे यशोदा माँ के पास, लेकिन वो डांटती भी थी, मारती भी थी और प्यार भी करती थी. तो आपको भी ये याद रखना होगा कि कंप्लेन्स आएंगे, क्योंकि वो बचपन है. Through that story of Krishna, what do we understand? Even God made mistakes when he was a child. God did something wrong when he was a child. God also was naughty when he was a child. So these are small children in your school. They will make mistakes. But you have to handle them very, very carefully in a very matured way. Okay. Don't pressurize the child to talk. Question too much aggressively should not be done. Even when you're questioning, be very calm, be very composed. Ask the child not to forget. Make the child repeat the story. Confront offender in child's presence. Don't make the child repeat the story. मेरे साथ ऐसा हुआ, मेरे कान पकड़ा, उसके बाद मेरे बाल पकड़े, उसके बाद. Don't make the child repeat. And don't confront offender in child's presence. हमेशा इसको याद रखें. अगर किसी टीचर ने कोई गलती भी की है बच्चे के, तो आप टीचर को बच्चे के सामने नहीं डांट सकते. You have to be mature enough to handle the situation. How to respond? Listen attentively. Acknowledge the feelings. Show the student a positive image of himself or herself, because I just now told you, बच्चे कभी कभी सोचते हैं I'm useless, I'm hopeless, अब तो मुझे मर ही जाना चाहिए, मेरे साथ ऐसा हुआ. ये नहीं. discuss acceptable behavioral patterns and highlight consequences. Yeah, this should be done with those who are creating violence also. देखिए, अगर आपके स्कूल में कोई ऐसा बच्चा है जो हमेशा वायलेंस क्रिएट करता है, that doesn't mean that he's a useless, hopeless child. You have to understand why he wants to do this or she wants to do this. What are his or her feelings? How the child is also can be productive. बहुत बच्चों को ऐसा फील होता है कि अरे यार मैं तो प्रोडक्टिव ही नहीं हूँ, मैं तो एकदम फेल हो जाता हूँ हर साल, चलो बदमाशी किया जाए, मैं तो 5 साल से फेल हो रहा हूँ मैथ्स में, अब कभी नहीं अच्छा हो सकता, चलो बदमाशी करके एंजॉय करते हैं. We have to make the child understand you're not a failure. You can also be successful. Show them the right path. Discuss acceptable behavioral patterns. कि स्कूल में आप ये कर सकते हो, ये नहीं कर सकते, ये बिल्कुल नहीं कर सकते. And if आपने किया, which you should not be doing, then be prepared for the consequences. Okay? So this is how, friends, together, you can make a school a no violence school and a happy school. That's all from my side. If you have anything to discuss or any questions, please come forward. Any questions from your side? No questions. I hope you have understood
Yes, ma'am,
certain
it
tips
was,
you can
it
take from
was,
today's session.
yes, it was really wonderful. We have got a lot of informations too, but still we know that the many things we need to counsel the parents. And am I right, Mitali, ma'am?
Very true, very true. Somebody has written a question, ma'am, how to deal with aggressive students. Sometimes you come across case of domestic violence is there. You know, friends, always understand if there's a river, there's a source of the river also. There cannot be any river without source. So if the child is overreactive, if the child is hyperactive, if the child is aggressive, or if the child is very polite, if the child is very matured, if the child always comes in neat and clean uniform, if the child is very responsible, there are reasons for that. So even if the child is aggressive, the behavior is not acceptable, my suggestion would be please talk to the children. Please try to find out the root cause, because once the root cause is found, then only you can solve the problem. Like when you go to the doctor and you say, डॉक्टर साहब मुझे ना रोज पेट में दर्द होता है, तो डॉक्टर आपको एक दवाई देते हैं, वो टेम्पररी रिलीफ है, पेन किलर. लेकिन डॉक्टर आपके अल्ट्रासाउंड कराते हैं, आपके ब्लड टेस्ट कराते हैं, आपके यूरिन टेस्ट कराते हैं, पता चलाने के लिए आपकी फैमिली हिस्ट्री लेते हैं, ये पता करने के लिए आपको पेट में दर्द क्यों हो रहा है. सिमिलरली अगर कोई बच्चा अग्रेसिव है, तो आपको ये पता करना होगा कि बच्चा अग्रेसिव क्यों है. That is very important. And once you actually know the reason, I think you'll be able to solve the problem. One more question is there. What can be done when two children are fighting and both tell lie about itself? Two children are fighting. सबसे पहले तो जाकर फाइट को बंद कराइए, आप बीच में चले जाइए ताकि फाइटिंग बंद हो जाए. And झूठ बोलना, I think it's very common among students. Don't take it very seriously. You just have to understand with your maturity that what is happening and take the right decision. Any other question? There is no attendance link. Domestic violence, yeah, we do come across. In that
The
case,
attendance link is given in the
Acha.
chat box.
Okay, yes, I can see that. Thank you. See, domestic violence again, I think once you understand that the child is like this because of domestic violence, there is some problem at home, then I think the best thing is you must talk to the parents, give them some time, invite them to your school, talk to them, have coffee with them. And if you feel that you cannot solve it, then I think at least suggest a counselor. That would help. If the parents are not ready to go to the counselor, at least send the child to your school counselor so that the child can at least keep himself aloof from all this as much as possible. And then wish him all the best in life. Anything else? Happy Dashera to all of you. Thank you, Julie ji. And any more questions?
Sorry for interruption, ma'am. The link, attendance link will be active till 6:30. So if you're not able to see the page where it's asked for enter your email, just we have patience. It will come over there. That's why we have increased the time of attendance. It will be active till 6:30.
There is a problem, ma'am. My email address not submitted.
Sir, in that case, please
Just ask
consult
the
with your
SPMC
SPNC.
or the school head principal that the which email ID of yours submitted, which WebEx email ID has been submitted. The same thing, same should be used there.
Uh, in that case, ma'am, they can ask to their SPNC from which email ID they have got registered.
Yeah.
Which email ID was used during the registration of the for this training.
मैम मेरा email ID दिया हुआ है लेकिन वो जो कह रहा है कि रजिस्टर्ड नहीं
So
है
may I leave the session now?
Ma'am, it's a really wonderful session, and moreover, I can say honestly that yes, this is the main issues almost all the teachers are facing in the class. Sometimes they take up the class, they feel that they can complete the portion because these type of issues, bullying and fighting, all these things always deviate their attention, and they are facing the problem to complete the session, complete the syllabus too. But you did it. You have given the lot of options to us, lot of you can solutions to us, how the problems as well as solution you have narrated very nicely. Thank you on behalf of the Aryavarta Sahodaya School Complex, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everybody.